What's going on? Welcome to the episode. The holidays are right around the corner. You may have even been to a few holiday events already. And so I figured, let's put this episode together, get it out to you before the season really kicks off, because I want you to be equipped and prepared ahead of time. Now, this episode is obviously not for your friend, family member, or coworker that so predictably every year is like, don't be crazy, just relax, it's the holidays, eat cookies, crush drinks, what's the big deal, and on and on and on. This episode is for you, the person that actually cares and is mindful about their body, mind, and spirit year-round. This is for the person that wants to roll into the new year feeling good versus like a bag of shit. So we're going to be covering 5 tips to enjoy the holidays, maintain your weight, and feel great rolling into 2023, because first impressions matter. Waking up on the first day of the new year feeling awesome, or at least pretty darn good, sets a completely different tone than playing catch up for a week or so and not really feeling quote unquote normal until, say, January 6th or 7th. So we're going to cover nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management related tips in this episode, because you know me, and I'm all about these 4 pillars within a lifestyle context. We're also going to cover a few social tips that are going to help you say no, because a lot of people struggle with this, especially this time of year. I've also got a bonus stress-related insight for you, so let's get it. The most important thing that we need to establish first is, what does enjoying the holidays mean to you? What is your definition of enjoy? How does that look? It's an interesting question, right? Because many of us haven't actually taken a step back and asked ourselves, what does enjoyment mean to me? Is it eating and drinking whatever happens to be in front of your face and dealing with the consequences later? No judgment, by the way. I have done that too many times to count. Is it really emphasizing family time and creating awesome memories? Is it curling up on the couch and watching old Christmas classics? Is it all of the above? What is important to you? What has you in joy? You hear me talk about the importance of personalization in regards to all of this nutrition and lifestyle coaching that I do, and this is yet another example. Enjoy is a relative term. It means something different to everyone, and it's always in flux because it changes over time as our priorities shift and change themselves. So first and foremost, what is your current 2022 definition of enjoying the holidays? How do you want this season to look so that you are in joy as much as possible? Get clear on that and then implement the following 5 tips as you see fit within the context of your current priorities and lifestyle. Personally, the holiday season looks a lot different for me now than it used to. For example, enjoying the holidays used to involve lots of booze. My aunt's homemade caramel nut bars, they are a 10 out of 10, I'm telling you. They're rich, sweet, salty, unreal. My mom's shortbread, leftover turkey and cranberry sandwiches, and of course, a whole bunch of time with family and friends. And I'll be honest, for me, it was almost as if the food and booze was priority 1A and family and friends were priority 1B. So they were both on the top shelf, but it was almost like the food and booze was a bit of a bigger focus for me. And that sounds kind of savage saying it out loud, but I'm just being honest. And I know that I'm not the only one that's experienced this, because if you were to take the food and booze out of the holiday equation, it begins to feel and look a lot different, right? It is a huge part of it. For many folks, it is the primary part. That used to be me. It was basically like food and alcohol were the main character, and family and friends were supporting characters in my movie called The Holidays. But I digress. Let's get to the first tip here. Tip number 1 is the rule of 2s. This is the idea that every funky meal is followed by a healthful one, meaning you never have 2 funky meals in a row. So at the very least, you're eating healthfully 50% of the time. Now, if things get a little bit out of hand and you have a whole day where you choose to indulge, you can simply apply the rule of 2s to days as well, meaning a funky food day is followed up by a healthful food day. This can also apply to booze, and that you can decide that you don't drink 2 days in a row. So you have at least 24 hours in between each day that you choose to consume alcohol. This can apply to walks and workouts too. So you don't go more than 1 day without hitting your 10,000 steps and or getting a workout in. It can be applied to sleep. You don't go more than 1 day without getting a great night's rest and waking up feeling energetic and alert. You can implement the rule of 2s in whatever way you'd like, and the awesome thing about it is that if you honor it, at the very least, you're still going to be on track 50% of the time. And there's a great chance that it's going to be more than that, but 50% is the absolute bottom of the barrel. Tip number 2 is to shake and move. Your calorie intake is most likely going to increase over the next month or so. Meaning, if you also let your movement slip, you're going to put yourself in a double whammy sort of situation, because more calories and less movement is going to result in more fat gain versus still eating more, but also being sure to maintain your movement practice. Keeping your movement on track is also just going to have you feel better, sleep better, and almost certainly feed into making better food decisions as a whole. So how could this look practically? I'd recommend at the bare minimum maintaining your current movement quota. So for example, I get my clients to average 10,000 steps per day or get a total of 70,000 over the course of the week as a whole. And quite a few of them choose to work out too. And so let's say that you hit 10K steps daily and work out 2 to 3 times per week normally. Just keep doing that. Also, this will keep you in a routine, which is really important from an overall lifestyle perspective, because just completely dropping off of everything that you're doing self-care wise is an amazing way to feel like absolute garbage, not only physically, but also mentally, because it just leaves you with this sort of dull and lazy feeling, which then very often leads to funkier food decisions as well, also lesser quality sleep, and it just becomes harder and harder to return to your normal setup post-holiday season the further and further you get away from baseline. We can fall into a rut pretty darn quickly. It happens. We've all been there. Now, you could choose to increase your step counts and or workouts even more to offset some of the bump in calories consumed if you'd like. However, while this is a really cool idea in theory, it just typically doesn't play out in the real world, considering the hustle and bustle of the holidays with work and additional engagements, etc. But it's totally an option if you can implement it logistically. Tip number 3 is to sleep sound. Sleep is quite often the linchpin or the glue that holds a healthy lifestyle together. It's super difficult to get really bad sleep while still eating healthfully and moving a bunch. Not to mention that there is no faster way to decrease your ability to handle stress than to shortchange yourself on the sleep front. Also, Being that funky food and booze is so tied into the holidays, your body and mind technically need even more sleep than usual because funky food and booze causes inflammation and damage. And we clean up inflammation and damage primarily while we're sleeping. And so at the very least, you don't want to let your sleep slip or fall off. And even better, if you can prioritize a little more time for sleep, that would be ideal because again, you're increasing your demand for repair via more funky foods and more alcohol. Also, the funky foods and alcohol tend to impact sleep negatively in and of themselves. And so not only do you need more sleep to clean up the mess, you need more sleep simply because lower quality nutrition and more booze impairs the sleep that you're getting to begin with. We're kind of hitting ourselves from both sides here. Additionally, sleeping better will have you make better food decisions on a subconscious level, meaning even if you're not aware of it, which is super cool because this doesn't take any additional effort on the food front. You're just getting better sleep and making better food decisions as a result. It's not even conscious, aka it's effortless. Those pieces just fall into place to a certain degree, which is great. As far as alcohol timing and sleep specifically go, booze does an amazing job of decreasing sleep quality, and so the further you can keep your bevies away from the time that you're going to bed, the less of a negative impact that they're going to have. Meaning, happy hour is preferred to nightcaps. Tip number 4, be selective or pick your spots, as I like to say. Circling back to nutrition, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to indulge in tasty treats over the holidays, and so it's important that if you'd like to maintain your body composition, that you select wisely as far as when you choose to indulge. If you say yes to every opportunity and offer, you're not going to feel great. And so I'd recommend a few things here as far as your approach goes. 1, make your meals that aren't at holiday engagements really count, because this is where you have full control over your food choices and you can make up some of the ground that you may have lost at a social event. For example, when you're at home solo on the couch, this isn't really the time to order pizza because you want to quote unquote save those indulgences for social situations, being that they're so common this time of year. And so instead, favor single ingredient whole foods with plenty of protein so you can keep your calorie count in check, but also feel super satiated. The same concept applies to alcohol. Skip the solo post-work glass of wine because you want to save those drink tickets for social events, because you're probably going to drink at the social event anyway. And so skipping the solo bevies or less social situation related drinks is a great way to free up some room on the alcohol front. 2, you want to be somewhat selective in terms of what you choose to indulge in because you want it to be worth it, right? There's nothing worse than eating a super calorie dense meal or treat and afterwards being like, that didn't even taste that good. What a waste. Because that's just a loss across the board. You indulge and you didn't even enjoy it that much. So be selective and pick your spots in terms of what and when you choose to indulge. For example, let's say that you're not all that crazy about cookies, pastries, and pie, but cheesecake just does it for you. If you go to 5 social events and 2 of them have cheesecake and 3 don't, enjoy the cheesecake at those 2 social events and skip dessert at the 3 that don't have the options that you don't really like all that much because they're not really worth it to you. If you're going to rack up a big calorie bill, you want to have it be from foods that you truly enjoy. Tip number 5 is to wrap your nose in compliments. This is more of a social tip because so many of us have a hard time saying no to things. So let's use our previous dessert example. If someone offers you some pastry that you don't even really like, but you choose to eat it because you didn't feel comfortable saying no, that just sucks, right? So here's an example of how I'd recommend saying no, but both in a polite and kind of fun way. Let's say that you finished up dinner and the host starts dishing out dessert, and for whatever reason, you don't feel like it. Maybe you're just really full, or the dessert that is being offered is as far from cheesecake as you can get. Cheesecake is my favorite, if you couldn't tell. When they offer it to you, you obviously don't want to just be like, no. You want to kind of finesse your answer. And so you can do this in tons of different ways, but here's one. You can say something like, thank you so much, I would, but I'm super full from the delicious dinner that you cooked. Those mashed potatoes were incredible. What time should I be here for dinner tomorrow? Saying no in a playful way is not only more enjoyable for you because you don't have to make it a big thing, it's also just an awesome and fun way to compliment your host that's offering, and sort of a way to deflect a little bit too. Now, oftentimes folks will offer again, and that's just when you don't want to be rude, but you do want to be firm. And at that point, a super simple and solid, thank you again, but I'm good, can go a long way. The people that get hassled the most with stuff like this are the folks that leave the door open. You can just feel that they're not solid in their communication or their decision. It's relatively easy to sense when someone is unsure or has a rubber arm and they can be swayed one way or another versus someone who has just made their choice. And again, it's not about being rude, it's just about honoring yourself and what you want most at that specific time. And if what you want is dessert, enjoy. Bonus time, stress. There's a saying that I love, and it goes like this. If you think that you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. This time of year tends to bring up a lot of emotional stuff, and it's almost always old stuff. Old issues that current circumstances and situations bring to the surface. And so the holidays, for a lot of people, can be quite stressful, and this old stuff is quite often what drives us on a fundamental level to overdo it with the food and booze. I'm speaking from personal experience here, as well as working with lots of clients throughout the holiday season. Now, it depends what kind of approach that you want to take in regards to this. Do you want to take the I've just got to get through this year however I can sort of approach, or the I'm keen on addressing the root cause? The I've just got to get through this year avenue will most likely be the easier approach in the short term and the far harder approach in the long term. Because what about next year and the year after and the year after that? What about the fact that these issues don't just go away? They're always there unless we address them. But addressing the root cause is painful, and it's definitely more difficult in the short term. However, it's far less painful in the long term, because if you add up all of the pain and suffering that's compounded over the course of time when these issues are just boiling under the surface, big picture, it is far more painful not to address the root cause. It's sort of like just always having a rock in your shoe. It's just there, it's annoying, it hurts some days more than others, it often requires the use of over-the-counter drugs and anti-inflammatories. It's kicking the can down the road. On the other hand, getting to the root cause is taking your shoe off and removing the rock permanently. So, If you're keen on going with the root cause approach because you're just tired of dealing with and dreading this same cycle every year, a really cool and underrated approach is actually to keep your nutrition and lifestyle more so on track throughout the holidays, because what this does is, A, it keeps you more resilient and able to address said issues, and B, it actually helps to bring these issues to the surface, which provides you with the opportunity to deal with them, because the food and the booze temporarily mask the pain and literally get in the way. This is why staying sober during the holiday season can be so difficult. It's because you're feeling everything without the distraction of a whole bunch of funky foods and booze. There's nowhere to run, right? There's no way to avoid or deny, etc. Meaning, if you are taking this root cause approach, when you feel pulled to have a drink or down a dessert because someone or something is quote unquote stressing you out, if you skip it and then feel what you ought to feel, therein lies the opportunity to take the rock out. Building off of that, communication is typically quite key too, because you know in your heart of hearts who you have unresolved issues with. I know I do. You feel it and know that the other person feels it too. If it were physical in nature, you would be able to see it as a material thing in between you and that individual. For example, last year around this time, I had a really tough chat with my dad, and there was a bunch of anger and yelling involved. There were tears. It was uncomfortable at that time. But the fact is that we're closer now. We removed some of that material between us that was hindering our communication and closeness. These conversations are tough to have, but hard things yield awesome results, right? We don't really value what's easy because we inherently know that it's the hard stuff that gives us the most satisfaction and pays off the biggest. Why do we look at someone that's in great shape and think, wow, that's amazing? It's because it's hard to do. It's rarer than ever nowadays. And if it were easy, everyone would have a six-pack. And it wouldn't mean shit. We would not even bat an eye. We value difficult to do things, and so does life. Life pays off big when we're willing to rise to the challenge and do the hard stuff. Having convos with family and friends like this is hard. So stress-wise, those are the two primary options. Kick the can down the road and almost certainly compromise your physical, mental, and emotional health in the process, or address the root. Take the rock out. It's a choice, it always is, and that choice is yours to make. So, a quick summary. Get clear on how enjoying the holidays looks for you, and then implement the above tips according to your definition. What you can also do is decide how you want to look and feel on January 1st, and then reverse engineer your holidays, or essentially just work backwards. For example, let's say that you want to weigh 150 pounds on January 1st, and you also want to wake up feeling rested and excited for 2023. Or maybe it's January 2nd because, New Year's. All you've got to do is work backwards, meaning what actions do you need to take from today until January 1st or 2nd in order to make that a reality? I love using this approach with my clients because it's just so simple and clear. Like, that's my destination. I've already decided where I'm going to be, and so now all I've got to do is fill in the gaps. If you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. On Instagram, I'm at N1 Fitness on TikTok. I'm at the N1 Fitness and YouTube. I'm at Marcus Sadu. Feel free to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform if you'd like to, of course, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this episode useful, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.